as a contractor, if you really took your SEO seriously, you could take 5 hours on every Saturday and make yourself a bunch more money, but most people will not do that.
Hey, it's Brad here. And before we get into the show, I want to tell you about the show sponsor. Now, I personally use this company in my own business. And so I was thrilled whenever they reached out and said they wanted to sponsor the show. Today's sponsor is JobTread. JobTread is an all-in-one construction management software. JobTread streamlines processes for builders and contractors from estimating and scheduling to job costing and invoicing. With JobTread, you can create precise estimates quickly, improving the chance of winning jobs, and their dynamic scheduling allows you to keep projects on track with Gantt charts and scheduling tools. JobTread also allows you to collaborate with teams, vendors, and clients in one location. No more missed information, who said, she said. It's all in one location. And their API integration tools connect with your favorite software like QuickBooks Online, Hammer CRM, or any other API-friendly apps. JobTread is perfect for builders and contractors of all sizes. Whether you're a solo contractor or run a large team, JobTread scales to fit your needs and works great for remodelers, home builders, deck builders, pool builders, and general contractors. Try JobTread today and learn how it can help streamline, manage, and grow your construction business. Visit jobtread.com or click the link in the show notes for more details. Now let's get to the show. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today I have another special guest with me today, Tim Brown with Hook Agency. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brad. I don't know how special I am, but I am a guest.
We'll let the listeners determine that, but I'm sure it's going to be an awesome show. So I love the little logo in the background. I just realized when I said it, it's a hook, which makes perfect sense.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Give us a little bit of 30,000 foot view, just who Tim Brown is, what the Hook Agency is. Just kind of give us a little short version of what exactly that it is that you do.
Sure. Hook Agency, we're in Minnesota, and that's, a lot of this land of 10,000 lakes. So that's why I started with like kind of the fishing vibe. I don't actually fish that much, if I'm 100% honest with you, but in marketing, you need a hook. And so that was another kind of like the reason that we came up with that name. And then, it's 8 years ago that we started the company. I worked for another agency. I wanted to have a specialization when I got into this. So first couple of years, I had like a business coach who was like, hey, what do you have? Like, what's a good niche and all that? And at the time, I kind of resisted, but I had more like contractor and home service clients at that time than anything else. Mm-hmm. So as time went on, we just got more and more of those and kind of pushed into that. And then in 2021, my wife said, I am sick of all these other types of clients, because she runs the business with me. And we did, there's some clients you're doing really good work for. And then there's other clients where we're like, we're not as good at this. Yeah. And so what we found is like the specialization thing really helped us to kind of create some momentum in both and the services and our sales and marketing. So our ability to get customers went way up once we had specialization. And that comes in the form of like our services, which we're Google specialized. So Google, like SEO, PPC websites. And now we do Google Maps SEO and LSA ad management. And then the types of customers we're working for, because home service businesses, a lot of them have similar types of problems, but we're really focused on roofing. Okay. And HVAC and plumbing. So those are like our three biggest ones. And they just need a lot more leads, You think about like for years there, this last like 5 years, like remodelers didn't feel like they needed more leads. It felt like they were just drowning in them and stuff like that. So we kind of went where we were needed.
Well, I mean, most of those, the HVAC and the electrical, those are usually more service, right? So those are smaller jobs. You got to have a lot more of those to fill your calendar versus a remodeling company. They may only need 12 leads or 12 jobs a year, to depending on the size. So it makes perfect sense. And most of the stuff that I've seen online, at least on Facebook, I've seen a lot of stuff that you've done with the HVAC industry, as well as the others. Is there one particular one that you kind of really would say is like your bread and butter, your sweet spot?
So we're really pushing into HVAC right now, HVAC and plumbing. We have 75 roofing clients. So we have more roofing clients than anything else, but we're I'm really excited about HVAC. It's such a big industry. Like
Yeah.
you look at like 400, what is it? 400 billion, I think. I believe that roofing is like 100 at max. So it's kind of the size of the industry.
Yeah.
And what I also like, to be real with you, what I like about HVAC is there's a little bit of a barrier to entry. There's industries where it's like, and marketing is one of them, right? Like people like talk to contractors. They can I swear?
Yeah. I mean, try not to too much, but yeah, you can
Oh,
swear.
okay. So I'm just gonna make it really awkward then. They freaking love marketers, right?
Yeah.
Contractors. Yeah, no,
Oh yeah. No.
not usually, because it's like it's a very low barrier to entry. They've gotten ripped off 5 times.
Yeah.
So like I kind of like when the barrier to entry is a little higher on industries. Like I think it's good for the industry. There's actual like certifications and licenses and stuff like that you have to get, which is generally positive. Not that I'm like get the government in here kind of guy, but it
Right.
really does kind of help the industry a little bit.
No, I mean it's no different than contracting. I mean, there's contracting is a low barrier to entry, right? So a lot of
Mm,
homeowners and people get taken advantage of by people that don't know what they're doing. The same thing in marketing. I'm very much invested in the marketing space. Obviously I got to market my coaching business, and so I see every day, like literally almost every day in a Facebook group or something where a person's like, "Hey, I just sold my first website to an HVAC company. How do I build a website?" Right? And
yeah,
it's like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
the 20-year-old that wants to be the agency owner. What's the guy's name? The famous
Billy Bean.
Billy Me. They want to be like him, and then when they're 20 years old, and it's like, guys, you have to actually know what you're doing, and you have to actually
Wait,
provide some value.
Billy Bean is the Moneyball guy. Never mind.
Yeah, not Billy Bean. It's Billy
Billy.
Hayes. Or no, what's I can't think of his name.
I
Billy
know what
something.
you're saying. He's a famous marketing guy.
Yeah,
I haven't followed him a ton, but Billy something.
Billy something.
Um, yeah, it is crazy. Like what's that other dude that teaches? He's like he does the YouTube ads, and he's like in his garage with a bunch of crazy cars, and he's like, "Get into marketing. You can just sell it right now,
Yeah,
even if you don't even know what you're doing."
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
and I'm not trying to rip on that guy,
No, I mean,
but
everything has its place, but it's just there's a lot of. I mean, I still to this day get emails every day, people trying to market their stuff. I
yeah.
mean, every day I'm pitched by marketers every day.
It's funny because I do too. I get I get those. There'll be like a email that comes in that's like your website is broken. You need help with your SEO, and it's like, man, I do SEO. You can't even figure out that I do SEO, and then plus, like, I mean, I always want my SEO to be better, but we have 1,000 people on our website every single day, so it's like it's funny because
Yeah.
small business owners will get these emails and think that this person is like doing a real audit on their website and that something's actually broken.
No, they just buy
So
mass lists, send out the same email to every
yeah,
person. I have gotten
exactly.
some creative ones. I've had people
Sure.
send me a video and it's like, hey, here's me doing a Loom video of your website, and here's some
Yeah.
things that I recommend. It's like, okay, you put some thought and energy into doing this, and that's impressive.
Yeah.
For me, I'm still not going to hire you, but it's still
Yeah.
impressive that you've done that.
I'm always impressed by those too. I'm trying to think about if there's ever been a time where I've really bought something. I'm sure I've bought something off of a cold email or a cold call, and I respect the hustle. I always like even when I'm hanging up, I'm like, "Hey, hope you're having a great day. Bye." Like, but as a small business owner, it's just crazy the amount of constant bombardment
Yeah.
that you get by these people.
Yep.
And even though I respect the hustle, I believe in, I generally try to live by the golden rule on these things. If you wouldn't want it, then don't do it to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that respectfully, even though I've tried cold calling and I've tried all this stuff, I think ideally as businesses, we learn how to attract customers. Like, and I think that that's what I'm always trying to do is try to figure out how can I learn how to attract people so I don't have to do as much like cold stuff.
Right.
And I think that that's really like why our business is built the way it is, and not to go crazy into our services or anything like that, but to create more leads that come to people naturally. And I think that that's just basically a good ideal to work towards, is like creating an attractive business where the leads are coming into you without having to go knock on somebody else's door. And in roofing, because that's my biggest, like the most customers I have, that's our biggest competitor is door knocking.
Yeah.
And I respect the hustle. I'm never going to talk smack about that.
Right.
I totally understand. It works, by the way.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And I even give it credit. Like it's a better, it's almost a more controllable lead source. And anything you can do that's a controllable lead source is great. However, I want to run my business in a way that I would like somebody coming to me versus me having to go knock on their door. So that's the way I'm trying to run my business and trying to help other people do that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's get into that for a second. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory about me. I started my business in 2009, right in the housing market crash. I started out doing like handyman stuff because I only had $1,000 and a few tools, and that was the easiest to get into. Eventually switched over to started doing a lot of remodeling as well. But I did all of I built my first website myself in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had websites, like
Mm-hmm.
contractor wise. Nobody had websites in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had built my first websites. Like I learned Microsoft Front Page, if you know what that is, like to learn how to build websites, and then eventually doing some other stuff. And so I took advantage of a little bit of the technology jump and SEO and Google. I had one of the first Google business listings, and I had started collecting reviews before anyone else. And so I had kind of that first mover advantage in what I was doing in my local market. And towards the end, I mean, I would get marketers reach out to me, and I'd be like, okay, well, what kind of budget do I need to have for ads and stuff and pay-per-click? And it's like, well, 500 to 5,000 a month. And I was getting like 600 leads a year, and my marketing budget was less than $200 a month because it was all organic. Like I was dominating on all the organic search. If you go in and search for whatever service is my town, I had like the first whole page taken up with stuff that was mine. And so let's get into like the SEO side of it. Because I know it's something that you guys really specialize in is SEO. What do people get wrong? What do contractors get wrong? Home service professionals get wrong about SEO and how they approach it?
Yeah. First, I want to say, like, I try to tell people how to do it themselves. Like on our YouTube channel, I have a series that's like 14 videos, 40 minutes long, each one tactically showing you how to do it from scratch with WordPress, and then building links, and then getting content onto your website and doing keyword research and stuff like that. So I actually I give it all away, but honestly, sometimes I feel like it's for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Because most contractors will not take the time to do it. You can go watch everything. It's everything that we do, maybe even better in a way, because when you do it yourself, there's just something about that where you're motivated, and it's really, really like, if this is going to make me money right now, like as a contractor, if you really took your SEO seriously, you could take 5 hours on every Saturday and make yourself a bunch more money. But most people will not do that.
Right.
If you wanted to, it's hookagency.com/DIY, and you could watch all 14 of those videos and do it from scratch. Now it is time. It is time, and it is money, right? Like it's still money. Even when you're doing SEO yourself, if you're building links, you need to spend some money on the link building and stuff like that. And sometimes there's tools and things like that, but it's like not that expensive. Like I think I brought this one all the way up to my friend who's on the other end saying, can you turn off the leads kind of thing? It wasn't a lot, but it was like he got 5 calls all in a row or something. And it's like, can you turn off the leads with $1,500? And essentially it was like 10 hours. So there is the ability to do it. It is time. Now I'm a guy who's done it a lot, so I probably can do it a little bit more efficiently than some people, but there's ways to do it yourself. The thing that people get wrong, I think, the biggest thing that they get wrong is not understanding it enough to even delegate it, right? Like if you don't know what the basic components of SEO are, then you will get taken advantage of. And there's a lot of people that are selling cheap stuff that are selling almost nothing, right? Like the cheap stuff in particular is usually nothing. Like, because for instance, like people charge $1,000 for SEO. Like we spend more than $1,000 within each of our, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're supposed to be doing a bathroom remodel And the guy down the street comes up with a quote for $1,500, and you're like, I'm spending $5,000 within our quote.
Right.
I don't know how
Yeah.
how this guy's going to do that. And it is a lot of those kids that are kind of like, they don't really know what it takes to rank a site on Google. So understanding enough to know, hey, that's not even enough money for the raw materials of this thing. And I think that the other thing that they get wrong is just not following money with effort. And I say this a lot. You need to follow money with effort, because just because you're spending money on either doing it yourself or a agency or a freelancer or anything like that, you could waste a lot of money of them spinning their tires because you're not communicating with them, or you're not making sure that it's accurate, or you're not giving them the key information that they need. A big one is like, make sure your SEO company knows your service areas and knows all like the most lucrative services of your company, right? Like,
Yeah.
you want to give all that information, and that takes effort. Like, it takes effort to delegate well. It's like if you had an employee and you didn't take the 5-10 minutes in the morning to tell them about priorities for this week or this day, right? Like, if you don't tell them, if you don't have clarity there, then that person's going to waste time. And that is what happens when people don't follow money with effort. If you're spending money, spend a little bit of extra time and effort to make sure it's spent well.
I think the challenge with that, specifically with contractors, me being one and experiencing it myself, it's like, most you said I was a little bit unique, and I do agree with that because I came from a tech side. Like, I use technology to leverage a lot of, growth and stuff in my business. But contractors, it's like, I don't know anything about marketing, right? Speaking like a general contractor, I don't know anything about marketing. You say you can get me leads, just get me leads, right? Here's 2,000 a month, here's 5,000, whatever it is, and just give me leads, right? And you're like, okay. Now, maybe you do know I'm not saying you, but maybe the marketer does know what they're doing, but it also takes time, as you know, like it can take 3, 4, 5, 6 months for some of these different strategies to start working. And so it's like, I paid you $3,000 and I only got one lead this month. You suck. On to the next one. And it's like, I just want you to solve problems. So I'm just going to throw money at the problem. But like you said, don't follow up with action.
We call that pay to go away.
Yes, exactly.
Pay to go away. Like, I'm hoping that I don't have to take responsibility for my marketing problem. Now, I don't know that a bunch of my clients are going to watch this, and I would probably talk a little bit differently if you were currently giving me money. Like, I want to be empathetic to that idea that, like, if you are paying money, you should be getting leads for sure. If it's one lead, that's not great. If we're trying to keep our lead costs, for instance, on Google Ads under $200 a lead, and there is something there, but also ownership, right? Like, there has to be ownership. There's no one that's going to care more about your marketing success than you. It doesn't matter how much you give them. You could pay a marketing director $10,000 a month, and that doesn't mean that person's going to care more about your marketing than you. Now, you might get lucky and you might find somebody brilliant who's super smart, but at the end of the day, and I'm learning this with finances too, is like, I need to check everything. To a certain degree, that's what we got into when we get into business. That's what we're up to. Like, to go to that marketing meeting, to go to that finance meeting, to actually pay attention, to make sure that if there is something that needs to be nudged in a different direction, that we nudge it. Because no one's going to care more about my marketing than me. No one's going to care more about my money than me. That's basically what's hard for people to fully appreciate, because we think money should solve that. We think money, and like that, we're talking about some pretty big businesses, right, that are spending quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're talking to them, and it doesn't mean the problem is fixed because you throw money at it. And that's just a hard lesson to learn. And I've spent a lot of money to try to learn that lesson myself. So
I've spent a lot of money and frustration, working with different marketing people and over the both, businesses and stuff. And it is frustrating. Like, it's extremely frustrating. Like you said, lower barrier to entry. You can throw money at a problem and it gets solved. Like, that is definitely doable. but you have to hire the right company to do that, right? Because
Mm.
I can throw money at a problem and hire this, young whiz kid, and he's really doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the experience. He took my money, made huge promises that he really can't deliver on. And now I threw money
Yeah.
at a problem and it didn't work. But I want to say one thing that I agree with you on, which is you have to follow up and actually make sure they're doing it. And so I call this, we see this a lot with employees. Like you hire
Mhm.
an employee and then we think they're just going to think like us and we just throw them out there. It's like, okay, go out there and make me a bunch of money. And I'm not going to check up on you. Or I hire someone to do my bookkeeping and I'm like, here's access to all my bank accounts. Here's check writing privileges. Here's everything that I own. And then you find out 6 months later, they've been embezzling money from your company, right? And you're like, well, how is that even possible? Because what it is, it's delegation, but it's delegation and abdication, meaning they're giving them the responsibility. They're delegating that responsibility. But then, like you said, there's no checks and balances in place to make
Mm.
sure that they're actually doing what they say they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think that, just like you said, there are some times where you have a great employee, right? That like just does it how it's supposed to be done. If you haven't had that feeling before, I strongly recommend it. It feels great, right?
Yeah.
Having those people in your company. And there's like, as we've gone on, we've had more and more of those people that just get it done right and get it done at the top. But to a certain degree, you got to remember that you're special, that you have a unique perspective, and that you have your best interests in mind and you have the most context out of anyone, including a coach, Brad. And I know you do coaching, so I don't want to be disrespectful there, but
Oh,
like
100%.
you have to trust yourself. You have the most context on your situation. A coach, I'm just like saying in my case, I've always appreciated that coaches give me accountability for things I said previously. They challenge me. But at the end of the day, I need to make these decisions. I need to take responsibility and I need to check what I inspect, what I expect. I think that those things, just recognizing a little bit that you're special and that you have that unique perspective that probably got this business to where it is, and to respect yourself for that and to check in and just to give that context. I have like 10 employees now that work for me that are like really, really like they're on it. Everything's usually correct and just like perfect, right? Now I have 30 some employees, but I have 10 that are like that, right? That are
Yeah.
just, but it's still, if I don't go and give them the context of everything else I've got, because no one has more context in our business than us as the owner usually. Like I remember things 8 years ago when I just started that like probably are important, and I forget to say them and repeat them back to my employees that like helped us get where we are now. And it's just kind of like always kind of chief repeater. I've heard somebody call like the chief,
Yeah.
the CEO, that you just have to keep repeating stuff a lot and not get too tired of it. And I think part of that is context, of just giving all this context to the people. And that's also another great reason of like why it's ideal if you can keep people for longer. Like I have goals in my company of like keeping people for longer, because then you keep on retaining the context,
Yeah.
which I think helps business go better, is when there's more context of like what we've already tried and failed at and tried again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've already made the mistake when I started my business, and it cost me hundreds or thousands of dollars. I don't need to hire, 10 new people and have them make the same mistake because I already
Mm-hmm.
made it. Right. So I have that a little bit of experience, but the context, I like that. I like the way you worded that. It's also culture, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
lose the culture of your business. I mean, you're only one bad hire away from completely, demolishing the culture of your business and getting people to leave and quit and
Oh, that's real.
yeah, and then also on top of that, which you kind of alluded to, but like having vision, having a vision and mission statement of your company,
Mm-hmm.
which this will actually air. I'm actually doing a live workshop at the end of January for creating the mission and vision statement, but this will actually air
Nice.
after it's over. But it's important to know that, and then like you said, Chief Repeater, like this is our
Mm-hmm.
mission. This is what we're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
do for our clients and for the company, and then just repeating that over and over. I know we got
Yeah.
kind of way off topic on the business, which I love talking about this stuff all day long, but I
Yeah.
also want to talk about some marketing and get back to
Sure.
that.
Yeah. How can I help on that?
We talked about some things they're doing wrong with SEO. What would you say if you could only if you only had to pick one type of, marketing that you could do, what would you say is the most important one?
Hmm.
You can only pick one.
That is interesting for sure. If I had to choose one at this exact moment in culture and like what's going on social media and stuff like that, oh man, that's a tough one, Brad. I it would be a fierce battle between like in-person networking and
Hmm.
events and video marketing.
Like social media kind of marketing, or
Social media and video.
yeah,
Like basically like honestly, even if it was just video on social, like reels and YouTube videos.
yeah,
So those would be battling it out. The reason I go back to in-person and event stuff, like when I started, BNI,
yep,
right? Like I didn't have a big marketing budget at all when I first started, just barely like had any money at all. And I went out to lunch with people for every day for a month. I took somebody to lunch. So my marketing budget was taking people to lunch
gotcha.
and asking for referrals and trying to refer, right? So like going to events, going to things that were cheap, meetups, all that type of stuff. Trying to get on stage, like that's another thing is like trying to get on stage and speak about something, even though I wasn't, I was only 4 years into my career or whatever at that time. Like I got on stage and it was good for my business.
Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how I can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
So that versus video, I think I might have to do that one. Just because I technically believe that's what like the in-person stuff. I think even though it doesn't like always get categorized at marketing
Right.
as marketing, I think it might be some people might consider that like sales. I think that edge with in-person stuff and hand-to-hand combat and like I think about for contractors like anything you can do in person, you can go to music festivals. There's like a country music festival. You could set up a booth. If you could include networking and events in one lumped thing, I think I would have to say I think that might be the top one. Just because I think if you did that well and you did nothing else, I bet your business would still do great.
I would agree with that long term for sure. Like networking, you really can't beat that because if I can, like going back to BNI, I talk about BNI all the time. I was in BNI the first 5 years I was in business. As a matter of fact, I joined BNI a week after I started my business because I worked for a developer who was in BNI and I saw the value of it to him. And so I knew when I started my business that was going to be what I was going to do. And it probably kept me in business the first year because we were still
Mm-hmm.
during the housing market crash. I mean, there wasn't much work out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you become friends with a realtor or a banker or insurance guy, and all of a sudden they're just sending you business,
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over, rinse and repeat. And so long term, you can't beat networking.
Yep.
This may be, I do believe I'm going to have to change this probably in the next year or so. I still think there is an enormous amount of value in Google reviews. If you can
Mm.
dominate in Google reviews in your market, I still think that is a major benefit to getting leads, especially for
Mm.
contractors. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree totally. I think anything with Google Business Profile is a moneymaker for contractors. Definitely, like if you take that very seriously, if you get it, I think that that's a very high leverage marketing activity. I just had to like kind of like think about what I thought was like the most leads you could get. I think
Yeah.
it's in-person networking, but I think digitally, Google Business Profile reviews can also be used all over social media, right? Like, so if you get snippet, you have a template, or even if you screenshot, you know what I've been finding too? Like, if you screenshot like just like a text message from a customer that's like really nice,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing is super, feels very authentic. And you can just put that straight up screenshot onto your stories or, a picture on Facebook or whatever. I think anything with pushing the reviews, pushing the reviews on the internet. But yeah, Google Business Profile. And a great tip is that Google Business Profile, what dirty little secret is that it's actually a social media platform, and that you can post Google Business posts and photos to your business profile, and that's actually good for your ranking on Google Maps. So it doesn't say that, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
had, I can't remember what their Google Plus or whatever back in the day, that was their
Getting
social
ready to
media
say that. I was getting ready to say
that
that. Yeah. Yeah.
it died,
Yeah.
right? It died, but did it? Or did some of that stuff just get transferred into Google Business Profile, and actually Google is trying to kind of create that as like its social media kind of platform? In a weird way, if you treat it like that, it's really good for your Google Maps. So like that's something I absolutely agree, and I'd kind of like raise you photos and Google Business Profile posts. To me, if you can do those three things all the time, it's really good for your Google ranking on maps.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, being kind of a tech guy, I was always first to market. So like I was the first one to start collecting reviews. And at one point, I had over 100 and something reviews, and my closest competitor had like 12. You know what I mean? Like if someone goes and
Yeah.
searches for, services near me, and they see the link, see the rankings, and they see the listings, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, my company, five other companies. My company's got 120 plus reviews. The next one's got 18. They're going to click on my link first.
Yeah.
Like that's just that doesn't mean I'm going to get the job, but they're definitely going to give me the most attention because I have that higher ranking of reviews.
Two quick ways, like if people are like, how do I get this? I like there's method of essentially at the front end of a job saying, hey, this is our 5-star process, and if there's anything that I'm doing to this thing that I could be doing better that wouldn't allow us to get 5 stars, I'd love it if you'd let me know so that I can earn that 5-star at the end of it. Basically, future pacing
Yep.
for the customer to help them think about that on the front end, and then let you know if there is something that you could improve. And so that's one way. Another way is contests between you and your reps. If you have like a bunch of different people, then you can do a contest leaderboard. Well, I've found that works a lot, like very well for our company of like, and I've seen it work for like different types of contractors too, of like people get excited. You can do like a cash prize. You can, if you get this many, or the person with the most gets $1,000 or something like
Yeah.
that. Like it's very motivating. You don't need to make it one, like 1 month. You can make it like three, a quarter or whatever.
Right.
It's definitely a big, from what I've seen, it really pushes reviews. It's like you can't pay the customer for the
Right.
reviews, but you can pay your reps for pushing on them.
Well, there's a local painter here, and I actually just ran into the gym, ran into him at the gym a couple days ago. But he did a really good job in the beginning, which it's Google doesn't like this. But when he first started his business, when the job was done, he would just go to his client and say, "Hey, would you give me a review? If you do that, I'll knock a little bit of money off the bill. I'll give you $50 off or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right, as an incentive to get the review." And he grew his business quickly because he was able to get a couple hundred reviews in a very short period of time, and that definitely elevated his company because of that. Now, I'm not telling you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Google has very strict policies on stuff like that. If they find out, they can they'll blacklist you forever, kind of thing. And there's some illegal ways of getting stuff, which, by the way, Tim, for the first time ever, it was probably a couple weeks ago, I got an email from someone promising to give me Google reviews. Like, we'll go in and we'll hit your
Terrifying. Yeah.
I was like, I cannot, like,
Yeah.
you're just boldly
Yeah.
breaking the law or Google's law to do this. And that was the first time ever I've received one of
Mhm.
those emails.
Oh, on the lawful side, I want to throw out here the tell them to mention them by name. So if you're doing that contest, if you say, "Hey, if you don't mind mentioning me by name," it actually increases the percentage chances of them leaving a review. So and like that, you'll see that with like a bunch like your competitors. You'll see like James did a great job on the windows or whatever. Like that's
Yeah.
because it increases the chances. And it's like you can do that as part of the contest, but it's also like to me, I don't care really if they mention the rep. I just know psychologically that as a homeowner or a reviewer of any type, it's just compelling to be like, oh, I want to help. You
Yeah.
don't always want to help a company, but you want to help a person, right?
Right.
So I think that that's the thing to leverage there.
What I found on this, I used to use a software called Nice Job, which did a
Yeah.
phenomenal job of automating the review request process. But here's what I
Yeah.
found that I did not know prior to using them. It was set up to where it would send out like 2 text messages and then follow up with 3 emails. Right. So a total
Hmm.
of five messages. And I know you know the answer. You probably know the answer to this. Which one do you think is the highest conversion rate of those 5 messages? Which one had the highest conversion rate of people leaving a review?
The first one?
Actually, it was the last one.
Really?
Yes. And here's why. That last email that goes out says, "This is the last time that I will be messaging you asking for
Yeah.
a review."
Gotcha.
And the reason is because most people want to leave you a review, but what happens is they get busy and they forget,
Hmm.
right? Now, there's other ways, we can talk about, but there's other ways of like, yeah, the best way is when you're at the end of the job and you're standing in front of the customer. It's like, hey, customer, would you please leave us a review, right? And like, whether you have a QR code or something, and you pull it up right there on your phone, like try to get it in that moment. Probably the best way to do that. But what I found is
Yeah.
that people was always the last one. I mean, I had like a 40% conversion rate on the last email,
Hmm.
comparable to the other ones, because
I
people just
like
forget.
like sometimes like if you let's say you have your uniform on for like a nice like collared shirt with the logo, and then you've got your jeans or your khakis or whatever you get. I've seen like home service businesses with like the little plastic thing with just
Yeah.
the QR code. They're like it's their name tag, but on the back it has the QR code, and it's like if you don't mind, it's like at the little string thing that kind of extends. If you don't mind scanning this, and like if you feature paste right, you've let them know that that's what you're aiming at by the end of the service. And they also said, if you got the agreement that they were going to tell you if you weren't meeting that. And this isn't like a new strategy. I've seen this like a bunch of people use
Right.
this, so it it appears to work.
Yeah, the thing I would caution anybody listening to this is like if you're doing it in a manipulative way as a tool to get a review, it does not come across very, very good. Like
Mm,
people can read into it. So, like for example, if you do a contest, what do you always like? We see this. You go like to a store or whatever, like, hey, if please leave us fill out this survey, and if you do, then I'm eligible for a bonus. If you fill it out,
mm,
like that makes me not want to fill it out. Like if you're basically
mm,
begging me to fill it out so that you can get something on the back end of that, it has the reverse effect on me. Maybe that's just me,
mm.
but you don't want your employees saying, hey customer, please make sure you leave us a review because we have a contest and whoever gets the most reviews gets a bonus.
Yeah, all kind of has to get probably role played a little bit so everyone's keeping it kind of like wholesome and positive. I think like yeah, I can see what you're saying. It could create a little animosity if not done genuinely.
Well, I mean, if maybe the customer has some concerns. Maybe you did
Mm,
maybe you're 80% out of 100 or 4.5 stars
mm,
out of a 5 experience, and they have some concerns. They really want to have a conversation. They just want to be heard. You know what I mean? And then
mm.
the employees like, make sure you leave us a 5-star review because anything less than 5 stars and I don't get my bonus. Like,
Yeah, I think that there's like an opportunity for just like a question, right? Like at that point to say, is there anything that we could have done better? Or like, like I think that that's what's good about review culture, because this is a change in culture, right? Like it hasn't always been this way. Service providers let's say 30 years ago, let's go 30 years ago, didn't have as much checks and balances to like even want a 5-star review. Sometimes they were just like, F you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like, frankly, we wish we could do that to this day sometimes, right? As service providers, but it is a good development in culture, I think, that we're all trying to get a 5-star review, like, right? Like, and so that gives this like end of the conversation or end of a service or end of whatever. There is a good moment there where you can say, is there anything we could have done better? Because I want to continue to improve our service. And then if you get to the end of those things, because there's always a couple things maybe, then you can ask after that too. I think that there's an opportunity. And also there's also as a service provider, as a contractor, I think it's also to say, sometimes I'm not going to ask.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know. That's the bad part about automations too, is like maybe every job doesn't need a nice job at the end, you know. Maybe sometimes we're just happy to get through this job and get somewhat paid and get out with our like our
without losing our shirt.
Intact.
Without losing our shirt in the process.
Exactly.
No, I get it 100%. There's definitely ones where I literally went in and be like, do not send this person a review request after I got done, because I don't want to hear from them. So there's definitely something to be said about that. Yeah. Okay. So with your services, like I know you offer a couple different things. What is like is SEO, would you say SEO is probably one of the biggest things you guys do?
Yeah, SEO is half of our revenue.
Okay.
So it's a big service for us. Like I think with a lot of different agencies, it kind of gets tacked on. It's kind of an add-on. Like, oh yeah, we could also do your SEO. We're doing your ads, and that's where all the leads are coming from. But SEO, yeah, we could do it. So then they charge enough to like get the recurring. I think this is our original service, with websites, website design, and SEO. So it's pretty aggressive because for a long time we didn't have Google Ads. So we had to get leads with SEO or else we got kicked.
Right.
So we were creating leads with SEO, just SEO. And then we've added on Google Ads. We've added on Google Maps SEO. So like I was talking about the photos getting added and review, like we do review responses with AI, and then we do like Google business profile posting. And those things are all what helps you rank higher on Google. And we do an initial optimization and kind of like but yeah, that service is fairly new, but we're excited about it because I think Google Maps is extremely important. And then we do LSA. But to me, I'm like, I don't even know why you needed an agency to do LSA. It's so simple. I think you should just do it yourself. We have a course on our website, hookagency.com/LSA, to just do it yourself. Almost what we offer that is like to make sure people are doing it. Like we want our clients to be doing LSA. If they're not, we highly recommend it in most areas.
What about like in terms of like website SEO for like organic,
Yeah, that's our OG. That's our main one.
What are those different? What are those activities? Is it blog posts? Is it keyword?
Yeah.
Like what is the different things that you do for SEO?
Number one thing to be doing, if nothing else, is the location landing pages and making sure that your key service pages have really good like targeting. Like what keywords is it going after? The meta titles, the descriptions and stuff like that. We do keyword research. We do competitive analysis. That's just figuring out what people are Googling and trying to make more content about those things that they're Googling, really. It's like, that's what we want. We want the content of your website to just keep on spidering out. So you have hundreds and hundreds of pages that are about the things that you sell that people can find you. And usually those are like geolocation things. And then additionally, yes, blogging is part of our strategy to create authority and traffic on the website. And I think like all of that is harder now than it was 5 years ago by far. Because it's like being in a fight where everyone is on steroids.
Yeah.
Because think about AI and like how much that scaled our ability to throw out content super quick. So we, doubled our content because we use AI too. And I think it's not even like, it still feels like it's a little less than, I want to always be doing more because it's just, we're swimming in content now.
Yep.
So it's harder. It's a harder fight than it's ever been. Like I started SEO 10 plus years ago on my site, and it was way easier to cut through back then. It was a little just blogging about stuff, back in the day. Like I would be able to cut through way quicker. Now it's just, like I said, we're in a fight where everyone's on steroids.
Well, I think you would agree with this statement, but anything marketing related, marketers are great at ruining it for everybody else, right? Because as soon as something works, like as soon as they catch wind, that's like, hey, there's
Oh
this
yeah.
new thing coming out called Google Reviews where you can go in
Yeah.
and then boom, everybody's marketing that services. Everybody wants to do it. So like
Yeah.
the time of like any kind of blue ocean, anything that's blue ocean in marketing, like the the time span of that is very short because people are going to catch on and they're going to start doing it, and then you're going to get the crooks and the cons who are going to really take advantage of that and make all kinds of crazy claims. The whole
And
reason why
I would,
Facebook
yeah.
ads, like why you can't just make claims about, hey, I'm going to make you a multi-billionaire, buy
Mhm.
my $27 course and I'll make you a multi-billionaire. Like Facebook's like, no, like you can't make that crazy kind of stuff
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, I would say on the first part of what you were saying about like marketers just, if the button is there to press the button and you get money, I will be first in line to press that button over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I am part of that.
Oh yeah,
I
I am too.
remember back in the day, like when I say back in the day, I'm talking like 2017 and 2018. Like now that's almost back in the day now. We're talking about 7 years ago. SEO, and I remember sitting around with I had two SEOs at the time, right? And we're sitting around and like there's this new thing. It was FAQ schema for SEO. It was like, and as soon as you put it in, there's like questions on the bottom of blog posts and landing pages, and you added the schema, the code, it would show up. You could index it to Search Console, and it would immediately show up. So now your thing went from that tall to 3 times as tall. So, and you could actually like put call to actions in the questions. It was like, I don't know if you remember that there's all these questions underneath posts, and guys like me and my fellow SEO nerds ruined that probably because we did that for everything for a while. It's like but every time there is something like that, it's just exciting for us SEO nerds or us marketers. Is like we're gonna. I think from my point of view, it's like my worldview is that you should take every conceivable advantage for your small business,
Yeah.
and like it's your responsibility to take every conceivable ethical advantage that you possibly can. And now that doesn't go into the scammer
Right.
mindset, but it's like
Right.
if it's ethical and you can get more business from it,
Why
if it's
wouldn't
not,
you?
yeah, then press that button over and over and over again until that Google says turn it off.
I've said this multiple times, and I'll end it at this. But like when it comes to marketing, it's not an or conversation. It's an and conversation. Meaning, it's not like, hey, Tim, should I do Google reviews or should I do Facebook ads? It's like
Mhm.
it's you do Google reviews and Facebook ads, and you have a website, and you do SEO, and you wrap your vehicles, and you do
Yep.
social media. It's like you just said, take advantage of every
Yep.
avenue that's available to you to grow your business, right? This idea that like, well, I don't want too many leads. Like
Yep.
I don't want to, I don't want to get overwhelmed, which there's some, some logic in that, but
Yes.
it's like you
There's
can't,
capacity.
if you're in business, your goal should be to grow the business. Like you can't
Yes.
not grow. You can't get to 3 employees and be like, that's it. I don't want to have any more employees. I just want to stay right here and never grow again.
That's funny that so I have a client, a remodeling client from back in the day that I helped grow, and he did eventually. I coached him to not work with us because I knew that he didn't want to hire and he wasn't gonna. And I think I love that guy. I'm having him remodel my bathroom. I mean, he's the man. He cares about his customers. He's a good guy. I personally am greedy and I want to grow my business, even if it hurts. So I might be neurotic. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
maybe that person that we're talking about, they might be healthier than you and I. If they're cool with a 5-person business, I respect it. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to be super crazy aggressive if you can only handle 3 jobs this week. I mean, that's why everyone loves that marketer question. Can you handle 15 more
Yeah.
leads this
Oh
week?
yeah.
Or, I know you guys all love that, so I'll send that in a DM to you later. But it is relevant, right? It's real. You have to understand your capacity, and if you're willing to grow. Now, I would encourage you to want to grow because I think there's new challenges in creating a business that like has structure to it that's built out and could work without you. Like I think it's a worthwhile adventure to try to build that. But I also want to say like I've seen it and I'm not mad at that guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm
No.
not mad at that guy.
And I didn't want to come across as like there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong.
you
What I
know.
call lifestyle contractors, where it's really
Mhm.
usually in those types of companies, usually the owner is still on the tools to a certain
Mhm.
degree.
Yep.
But even if they do have 5 or 10 employees and they're happy and content at that area, that's okay. I was really speaking more towards like if you're like, hey, I want to hire a marketing professional, I need to get more
Yes.
marketing. Like you can't say give me marketing, but only give me this much marketing. Like I want to
That's
cap it at,
real.
you know what I mean? Like you can't really do that.
I agree. And I think it's like it kind of doesn't make sense to sit
No.
there doing a ton of marketing if you're in that situation. Maybe get like a high school or like a college like marketer intern to just do the
Yep.
fancy Facebook stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to be necessary. And at that point it's kind of for your ego. Like if you're it depends on like you said, like different types of trades, but as a like a remodeler, a handyman or certain types of if you're booked out 6 months, you don't need marketing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
you don't need to sit there doing all this that hardcore. So you have to figure out like what's your real capacity. And I've always said this is like there's ups and downs, right? So you want to have enough. Like you have to recognize that 6 months is not 6 months forever,
Right.
right? Just because you're built out 6 months does not. And we're coming into that mode right now where there's been a little bit more tightness in remodeling, and I don't know if that continues. But it feels like at that point you got to recognize once you're down to 3 months out, maybe it is time to get a little bit more professional in the marketing. I mean, we have remodelers, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like you got to know what the staff levels you're willing to grow to.
Well, you got to know your funnel pipeline. If it takes you 6 months to do a kitchen remodel from that time you sell it until you produce it at 6 months, then you got to have at least 6 months worth of leads in your funnel, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
funneling through these. And so like you have to know your cycle, you have to know your business. And you have to, and the thing about marketing too, it's like, they call you, it's like, hey, my phone stopped ringing last week. I have no leads and I only have 2 weeks worth of work. Can you save my business? I needed you to do
Yeah.
marketing for me. And it's like, that's not how, I mean, yes, you can do some things to get some quick leads, but that's not generally how marketing works. It's a long-term strategy, a long-term play.
And make sure you get your phone stuff right. Like
Yeah.
I think like that's such a big deal. Like if you tell me you don't have any leads, but I look through your forms and you haven't responded to people for a week,
Yeah.
and you're like I listen to phone calls
Yeah.
of clients, but like even like people that are spending money on marketing, a lot of times the call it's like we've got somebody that's rude on the phone or you're not answering the phone. And not answering the phone is probably the biggest thing. Is like make sure some of those things around and supporting marketing are there. Otherwise, it's very weird to be spending a lot of money on marketing.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't have a marketing problem, you have a sales problem, right? You have
Yeah.
an onboarding problem. So I want to be respectful of your time, Tim. I know you got a hard stop coming up. So let me wrap it up here. What's the best place for people to find your services that you offer?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's at hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social media. And I'm very, very grateful to be on here. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Awesome. Well, one last question, real quick. I always ask everybody, what is a book that you're currently reading or one that you would recommend?
I'm currently listening to on Audible, I'm listening to Unreasonable Hospitality. It's
Okay.
from the perspective of like a restaurant business owner about like basically all the crazy, unreasonably hospitable things that they do for their customers because it's a very high end restaurant. But it's just kind of it's got a lot of general business application to like, is there anything else we could be doing to kind of level up the way our customers feel?
Awesome. I love it. I got it written down here. I'll add it to my list to check out. So, Tim, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Sir. All right. Thank you very, very much.
All right, guys, you know where to find me on social media platforms. You can search for the Hammer and Grind podcast. Go to the show notes. Also, if you haven't picked up my new book yet, The Contractor Profit Blueprint, there's links in there as well. And thanks for listening. And remember, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.